Welcome, everyone. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to our Business Central What's New and Improved for Fall 2022 webinar. I'm Marie Sadeh. I'm your presenter today. We will walk through the new Business Central version together, Business Central version 21. In this release, we're once again getting improvements and new features that makes working with Business Central easier, your day-to-day simpler, and that lets you process transactions and get to information faster. Remember to submit your improvements and new features ideas through the Microsoft Dynamics 365 Ideas portal. If you do submit an idea through this portal, you see the link on the page here. Let us know so we can share it with the team and upvote it. Make sure also to avoid duplicates and check if an idea already exists, because then you don't have to write it up and submit it. You can simply upvote the existing idea. We have a packed release with this version. So I'm going to jump into Business Central so we can walk through those and also leave time for questions at the end. Everything we're going to see today is included in the BC release plan from Microsoft. One question we often get asked is this information public and available? And it is. You see the link on the page, aka.ms/BC release plan. So you can access the release plan for major version updates and minor ones directly from that page. The related documentation, so user guides, how-tos, videos sometimes is also available through that link when you navigate. So I'm going to switch to Business Central right away. We're looking at Business Central version 21, so that's 2022 Wave 2. We're in a preview environment, so we have the new features activated. You will see that if you compare it to your current Business Central environment, I have a new button here with a new badge. So the badge is updated. Instead of having 4 characters, you now have 6 that you can put in. So you have a little longer you can insert. But also it's on the top menu because it is now a button. When you click on that button, you have access to switch environments. So you can have access to your production environment and various sandboxes if you do have more than one. And you can switch companies from that button. If you have many companies, as in my example here, you can type and search for company names. So if I search for my company, it will start finding companies and I can easily switch with that button instead of going through my settings, which is what you're currently doing. And you're also confined to one single environment. Not in this case, I can see all my environments from here. So that's one major change to help with navigation and avoid having to have several bookmarks so that you can access your environments. It also keeps track of the name of the environment so that when Sandbox is updated and has a new name, you don't have to update all your shortcuts and link. So that's a neat change. Another nice improvement, there are new list page for posted and unposted document lines so you can make quick searches and queries. So if I search for posted purchase invoices, I still have my archive for the posted purchase invoices, but I also have one for posted purchase invoice lines. This is available for the purchase invoice receipts credit memos on the sales side too, and also available for purchase and sales lines, so open unposted documents. It gives you a list of all the lines on the different documents. You have the document number as a reference, but you can also apply filters to it so you can do quick queries such as desks that I sell in a period. You have the send to Excel button that is there that you can use to see the information. You can also quickly navigate to the item tracking information. So if you're tracking serial numbers or lot numbers, you can easily navigate to that information from a quick list. You can obviously show document from those pages, and you can query them. If you do have manufacturing or premium license where you're using the manufacturing module, there is also a production order component lines that you can access to see a list of all items that are currently sitting on a production order by status. So it's neat for item analysis, for example. There are changes on the vendor side. So on vendors, you can now have remit to addresses. So under the related information, I'm warning you, I might fumble a little bit because the menus have changed. I'm going to get to that. You now have remit addresses. So if you need to send payments specifically to different addresses for a vendor, for example, you purchase from a franchise or a specific location and you need to simply mail the check to a specific address that would be different than those locations, you can create a list of remit addresses and they become available when you go in the payment journal or directly in the documents so that you can specify the address you want to use to send and write the check to. So in this case, you see that for London Postmaster, we see my available addresses. That's what would print on the check in the window with the address so that you can mail it to the right spot. If I come back here, we will just take note of the posting group on my vendor. And it is set to domestic. Another improvement, this one had been announced for a little while and is now released in this new version. You can specify still the default posting group, but when you do go to documents, you can change it should you need to. For example, if you want to post against another very specific posting group for the vendor, if the currency is different and you have a split accounts at your GL, on the PO to say from domestic, which would be my Canadian, to EU. It would tie to my EU payables account in the chart of accounts instead of going to the regular account. This is easier for reconciliation purposes. It is also available on the customer side where you can, on customer documents, change the customer posting group. It can also be useful to create entries that would reclass balances, say, to bad debt accounts. So you could drive that using specific receivables or payables accounts, depending on what you are. So that's an option that you'll be able to enable from the sales and receivable setup or purchase and payable setups. I'm just going to put a line on my PO here. I'm going to order a bicycle for my location. It's not a fancy bicycle. Ontario, non-tax. When you print documents, you now have the option to select the report layout directly on the prompt for the report. This was requested by many, as you can assign defaults to the system to a vendor, but sometimes you need to change it on the fly because you want a specific format. This applies to reports such as, say, the accounts receivable, so internal reports, not only customer or vendor-facing reports. You can go and select from the available either standard or custom report layouts you have and select the one you want to print specifically. So it's easy to switch between formats should you need to. Other changes you'll notice are subtle but really help with navigation. There are name changes. So at first, it will need some getting used to. You might notice that the navigate button is no longer there. It's been removed. The process button has been changed by home. So it's more consistent across Microsoft solutions, but also across all pages in the application. And actions that were available under different tabs and different actions, and that maybe you had 3-4 ways to access them, they're only in one spot now. So the menus are shorter, they have been streamlined, and you'll also notice that the areas we have groupings here and less sub-menus that develop a lot so that it's more easily accessible. Also, as I navigate through the tabs here, and it's very useful for newer users when you're getting to know what's available in the solution, when I click here, I don't have to do a second click to get to my menu. It is pinned by default. So you can unpin it and revert to the view that you're currently used to, where the menu will develop, or you can leave it pinned and navigate more easily across the different tabs. Another neat improvement, and we'll see it posted sales invoice. Again, on the ribbon menu, the actions have been, they're up one level, and also actions that are related are regrouped together. You obviously have to be allowed or try not to reverse a transaction that can't be reversed, but the various actions are regrouped together so to avoid clicking or avoid confusion between the various actions. So when they're closely related, they're brought together. Other change is that when you hover over fields, depending on the field you hover over, you will get tooltips on all of them. So some are a little obvious, like the postal code, but you also get additional information on the various fields. So that's now available on all fields, and on some, as you see with this one, you get a more lengthy description of what the field is meant for. So again, in the spirit of making it easier to work with the application and to learn it and to navigate through pages, the tooltips, that's what they're called, so that paragraph, are updated. Another neat tool, I do not activate it when I do presentations or training. You have teaching tips. Those are improved too. So when you activate those, what it does is that when you open a page for the first time, it will open a pane to give you a tour of the page. It explains tips, fields, how to navigate through the functions. It will guide through transaction entries. So it's really useful for newer users. But when you've been working with it for 20 odd years, you turn it off to avoid many pop-ups in a presentation. The account schedules have a new name. This one is actually exciting because account schedules was a name that people often didn't really relate to. They renamed financial reports. And instead of column layouts, they now have rows and column definitions. So this is getting streamlined and ties in with also the new Excel report layouts that were released a couple releases ago, so that the I was going to say account schedules, so that your financial reports and statements are easier to access and update. You'll also notice that I have more in this list than you might have in your current company for default choices of financial reports. There are new templates available that you can use either as is by just updating the accounts, or you can copy them to use them as a base. When you do get the update, if you're looking for the overview button, it's been removed and changed for edit. So when you click on edit, you see what was called the overview, where you can select options and see the results of your report. Additional buttons are still there, so you still have the open in Excel available from that page and the export button, and you do have the navigation as it currently is. If you do not remember financial reports right away when the name change comes, if you search for account schedules, it will pull financial reports. You can bookmark those to make sure you have them on your homepage here and save some searching and some clicks along the way. Other small but really neat improvement for people who do planning and work with the requisition worksheets for the purchasing, you can now sort on the columns. It is a tiny but mighty improvement. So you can sort by any column to be able to better see the different groupings and act on the action messages on that page. So all of them you can use to sort on. It's going to be out in a couple weeks, that release. Then Shopify. So for those of you who use Shopify with the Shopify connector from and Shopify, it used to be, or it currently is, I should say, that you have to navigate to the logs to see if there might be issues or unmapped entries or entries to process. There is a new Shopify activities queue that will show if you have unmapped or unprocessed transactions and if there are synchronization errors. When you do click on this and there are errors, you will see the detailed log and you can then take action. So you can get this and put this this queue on your profile when you're managing the integration, so to make sure that you have the information on your homepage and don't have to go check for it throughout the day. Let's switch back to the slides. This one is exciting. I know a lot of people will be happy. There will be a separate communication sent out to users too. So we'll try to inform as many as we can. With the new version, there will be additional changes made to the bank account reconciliation. It was requested to Microsoft by a lot of partners and users. So in the bank reconciliations, the check entries from the bank statement will now match based on the check ledger entries. The matching rules are improved so that they're more precise and the auto match works better. The test report includes the GL balance. There are some dates to take into account when you do run the test report. We'll provide that information separately, but the GL balance will be there so you can spot more easily if there were direct postings to the GL bank account, and you can check on those before completing your reconciliation. The statement report will now include the outstanding payments at the time of the bank reconciliation. You'll notice that it says outstanding payments and not outstanding cash receipts. So we're getting to a report that would be closer to what used to be the previous North American bank reconciliation report or bank statement. So it will include more information. And there is also a new warning when you set up a bank account. That's what we're showing in the screenshot here. So when you set up a bank account, you will get a warning if the related GL account allows for direct posting, so you can review it. It's meant as a reminder because when you do create a new bank account, you might have opening balances that you need to post that require that direct posting be on. But then you have to remember to remove this direct posting. So there are new controls that are being put in place and other controls that were there that are being put back in this release. And we expect there will be additional improvements made in future versions too. So it is another proof that Microsoft will listen when we submit ideas or ask for features to be put in. Other new features that we cannot easily demo but are really neat. So there are new APIs and data sets for Power BI. There will be more in future releases too. So the ones that will come out with this release are general ledger data. That includes the GL budgets and dimensions, accounting periods, business units. There will also be predefined data sets available for customers, vendors, and ledger entries, including the detailed ledger entries, which is widely used to report on sales or purchase statistics. So that's really interesting for your Power BI dashboards. Integration to OneDrive is a new feature that you'll be able to activate. When you do activate this integration, what happens is that when you send to Excel, a copy of the file will be sent to your Business Central folder on OneDrive for safekeeping. And the edit in Excel action will also open in Excel web app instead of opening on the desktop app. As many people prefer to keep working in the browser and avoid switching tools. So this will now be available and you won't be required to have the Excel client on your desktop to be able to work with the Edit in Excel feature. And also the share window in Business Central will offer another option to share a link that you'll be able to open directly in Outlook. So instead of copying the link, pasting in an email, and then sending it over, you will be able to share directly with colleagues. So that link will bring, I say colleagues because they do need to be licensed for Business Central and have the permissions to access the record. But instead of telling a colleague to access a specific PO and go take a look, you can send a direct link to it either through Teams or Outlook so that they can get it. Another great one for admins and support, deleted environments will be kept in a soft delete and you'll be able to restore them for periods of 7 days. So that is usually enough time to realize that an environment is gone and shouldn't be, and you can restore it. There are also, I see US people on the call. So there are also new updates to forms. So the RRS 1096 form will be available for your reporting. And there is a new VAT date field if you do use VAT, which is typically not the case in Canada. But if you do use it, there's an additional field that lets you record a specific tax reporting date on your transactions. And additional data exchange definition options will be available too, so that they're easier to configure and you can group fields and map data more easily when you use the data exchange definitions to load files and data in Business Central. You can also ping us anytime at hi@opendoorerp.com if you do have questions, and we'll put you in touch with either an implementer or another expert. Thank you, and you have a great day.